Elon Musk just ended Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, live on The View. Cold facts, viral tweets, and one walk-off that shattered her career in seconds. The morning began with a controlled hum. Studio staff adjusted lights. Scripts were prepped. The show's executive producer whispered into a headset, "Keep it tight. We don't want chaos." It was wishful thinking. When the guest list for that morning's The View was leaked, Twitter was ablaze. Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, Tesla, and now the increasingly controversial social platform X, would appear alongside Representative Jasmine Crockett, a rising Democrat known for her unapologetic defense of working-class issues and sharp criticism of the Trump administration. Musk had recently advised the White House on the Department of Government Efficiency, or DIGI, a cost-cutting initiative slashing federal positions. Crockett called it a billionaire's sledgehammer to public service. Their collision on live television was inevitable. Before the cameras rolled, Crockett reportedly told a staffer, "He's not getting away with numbers today." She wasn't there to debate stats, she was there to make a moral case. But Musk wasn't there for sympathy. He had come prepared, with data, screenshots, and polling graphics. Host Joy Behar welcomed viewers with practiced ease, but her voice betrayed a hint of tension. "Today," she said, "we bring you a debate where politics, power, and platforms collide." Crockett opened with a direct line. "DIGI isn't reform. It's job destruction." She pointed to thousands of federal employees laid off, families displaced. "Efficiency doesn't feed kids," she said. Musk tilted his head. "The federal government wastes $520 billion yearly. DIGI cut 15% of redundant positions and saved $48 billion. That's not destruction. That's responsibility." It was clinical. Cold. But also compelling. Crockett's rebuttal focused on the human cost. She spoke about janitors, file clerks, people who had never seen a Tesla but now feared losing healthcare. Her voice, though impassioned, rose in pitch, slightly off rhythm from Musk's even tone. But what viewers couldn't see was what Musk was already doing. Quietly tweeting mid-show. "Crockett says DIGI harms workers. Who thinks saving $60 billion helps Americans? Vote." The on-screen results arrived fast. 72% supported Musk. Crockett stiffened. She hadn't even seen the tweet. The audience had. The debate wasn't just at the table, it was already online, in real time. And the moment was only beginning to crack. As the poll numbers appeared on the studio screen, Jasmine Crockett shifted in her seat. Her jaw tightened, but she forced a smile. This was live TV. Retreat wasn't an option. Joy Behar moved swiftly. "Let's pivot. Mr. Musk, critics say your platform X promotes free speech, but selectively. Jasmine, your response?" Crockett didn't hesitate. "X isn't a free speech platform, it's a billionaire's loudspeaker. You let Trump supporters dominate and drown out opposing voices. You've gamed the algorithm." Musk didn't raise his voice. He rarely does. Instead, he offered a faint smile. "Representative, you have 3.1 million followers. Your anti-Musk tweet last month got 10.8 million views. Who silenced you?" He was already posting again. Another poll. "Does X promote free speech or suppress it?" 69% voted in favor of X, again, live on screen. The audience, a mix of policy wonks and daytime viewers, murmured. Crockett looked toward co-host Sunny Hostin for backup, but Hostin remained cautious, asking only, "Elon, could your algorithm favor certain content unintentionally?" "Maybe," Musk said. "But X's algorithm is open source. Anyone can audit it. Transparency isn't perfect, but it's public." Crockett leaned forward. "You've created the illusion of fairness. That's worse than bias. You profit while the public thinks they're in control." The sentence hung in the air, sharp, emotional, unrebutted. For a second. Then Musk replied with a number. 720 million monthly users. No bans for politics. No ad dollars from governments. I gave speech back to the people. Online, the exchange was already dissected. Clips of Crockett's rising pitch were set against Musk's quiet delivery. Threads popped up comparing their body language. Influencers reposted Musk's graphs. A clip of Crockett shouting, "You're not a savior, you're a manipulator," was clipped and mocked with captions like, "When feelings meet facts." Still, some voices online pushed back, defending her as the only one speaking from lived experience. But the numbers weren't on her side. The comments, reposts, and real-time polling shifted momentum fast. She was fighting a debate in 2 dimensions, only one of which she could see. In the studio, Joy Behar pushed forward. Let's talk foreign policy. Elon, Tesla has factories in China. You advise Trump. Isn't that a conflict? Musk didn't blink. Last year, we created 105,000 U.S. jobs and paid $19 billion in taxes. Competing globally isn't betrayal, it's survival. Crockett's reply came fast. You can't serve 2 masters. You're making billions in Braventon while shaping U.S. policy. That's not competition, it's compromise. The audience grew louder. Applause, boos, camera flashes. Something was cracking. Crockett's hands gripped the edge of the table. Her voice, still strong, began to fray at the edges. Musk's, steady and low, only grew sharper. They had crossed the halfway point. The tension was no longer building. It was about to break. The tension inside the studio had passed the point of discomfort. It now bordered on something colder, heavier, embarrassment. Not for the audience, but for Representative Jasmine Crockett, who seemed to feel the shift before anyone said a word. Joy Behar attempted to stabilize the moment. Let's look ahead, she said. Mr. Musk, how do you balance your global business empire with your political influence in Washington? But the question, by now, was just a spark in dry grass. Crockett didn't wait. You're not balancing anything, she said, her voice low but shaking. You advise Trump, shape White House policy, and profit from nations he calls adversaries. That's not public service, it's self-dealing. Musk didn't respond immediately. He reached into his jacket pocket and unlocked his phone. The camera zoomed in again, another tweet, already composed. Crockett calls me a self-dealer. Who do you trust more to run efficient policy, career politicians or entrepreneurs? Vote. In less than 30 seconds, the studio screen showed 65% supporting Musk. Crockett stared at the numbers, lips parted, then quickly masked her reaction. But the damage was real. On X, the clip was already trending under #CollapseOnTheView. The audience remained quiet. Not supportive. Not hostile. Just still. The kind of silence that follows a realization. Crockett's face flushed. You think this is a game? She snapped. You've got polls and tweets and a million bots ready to back you up, but real democracy isn't a popularity contest. Musk leaned forward slightly, never raising his voice. Democracy is persuasion. You have a seat in Congress. I have a platform. If I'm winning the argument, maybe it's not because of bots. Maybe it's because you haven't brought anything but outrage. Her expression faltered. For the first time, she looked not combative, but uncertain. Behar, trying to keep the wheels on, offered a softball. Jasmine, what would you propose as an alternative to Digi? Crockett opened her mouth. Then closed it. A pause stretched long enough for the studio's stage manager to glance nervously toward the control booth. Musk didn't speak. He just watched her. Finally, she leaned into her microphone and said, I'm not sitting here while a billionaire rewrites democracy with tweets. She yanked the mic off her collar and slammed it onto the table. The sharp metal on wood sound echoed through the studio. Then, without a word, she stood up and walked out, past Behar, past the cameras, past the audience, her heels striking the floor like punctuation. The room remained silent. The camera stayed on Musk. He didn't flinch. He typed one final tweet. Truth wins. With or without a microphone. The screen behind him showed the live vote climbing. By the time Crockett reached the parking lot, the clip of her exit had reached 1 million views. And the show still had 20 minutes left. The studio didn't cut to commercial. Instead, the director chose to leave the cameras rolling, an unusual move, but one that would soon prove devastatingly effective. Elon Musk remained seated, posture relaxed, hands folded in front of him. His phone rested on the table like a second microphone. Joy Behar cleared her throat, trying to summon authority. Well, that was unexpected, she said with a tight smile. We'll be back after this. But by then, it didn't matter. In the control booth, producers were already shouting. One of them mouthed to another. It's everywhere. And it was. The clip of Jasmine Crockett walking off had already been posted across social media. Users added captions, slowed the footage, looped the mic slam. Every platform, X, Instagram, YouTube, was filling with reactions before the show even ended. Within 15 minutes, a meme featuring Musk calmly sitting at the table, captioned, Checkmate, had gone viral. By noon, conservative outlets seized control of the narrative. Fox News interrupted its programming with a special report analyzing the clash. One commentator said, "This wasn't just a debate. This was a dismantling." Another added, "Crockett walked into a data storm and didn't bring an umbrella." On the other end, progressive media scrambled. MSNBC aired a roundtable in her defense, calling Musk's performance techno-authoritarian. But even sympathetic analysts admitted Crockett had come in with emotion, not preparation. The footage made that painfully clear. On Capitol Hill, reactions were mixed. Some Democrats privately expressed frustration. One aide, speaking anonymously, said, "She made it about feelings when we needed facts. We handed Musk a win." Others defended her, claiming she'd been ambushed by a billionaire with infinite resources and a personal media machine. But public support was harder to find. By evening, internal polling showed Crockett's approval rating among independents dropping 9 points in a single day. Her office issued a short statement. "The Congresswoman stands by her commitment to the American people and will continue fighting against billionaire overreach." It went mostly unnoticed. Meanwhile, The View held an emergency meeting. Ratings were through the roof, but the fallout was clear. Viewers were divided, some thrilled by the spectacle, others furious at how far it had gone. Staff debated bringing Crockett back, but producers feared a second appearance would only reinforce the first. Musk, for his part, didn't appear rattled. He posted a follow-up tweet. "Open debate is healthy. Strong ideas win. Weak ones walk out." It received 5.2 million likes in under 5 hours. Back in Crockett's home district, local coverage of the event was cautious. But by nightfall, her campaign staff fielded dozens of calls, supporters confused, angry, or simply demoralized. One caller said, "We love her fight. But she wasn't ready." The truth was harder to ignore. In the age of real-time digital debate, image and substance were inseparable. And Crockett had underestimated both. By the next morning, the moment had become myth. Crockett's walkout was replayed on loop, often without context. The mic slam. The frozen stare. Musk's silence. Then the tweet. The internet had turned it into a ritual, each replay an act of judgment. Her supporters tried to steer the conversation, but the velocity of the moment left little room for correction. On X, Musk's post, "Weak ideas walk out," was retweeted by governors, tech CEOs, and podcasters alike. Within 24 hours, the clip amassed over 28 million views across platforms. The narrative wasn't controlled. It had simply calcified. In Clearwater, Crockett's staff met behind closed doors. Aides urged her to return to basics. "Go local," one advised. "Talk jobs, talk housing, avoid tech." She agreed. But everywhere she went, voters asked the same thing. "What happened on The View?" She gave answers, but the crowd had already picked sides. The View, meanwhile, was facing its own reckoning. The day after the broadcast, ratings jumped by 41%. But the bump came with consequences. Critics called the show a glorified arena, while columnists questioned its ethical responsibility. One wrote, "In the pursuit of relevance, The View became a battlefield, then lost control of the war." Internally, the team was split. Some producers wanted to frame the event as a breakdown in decorum and issue an apology. Others insisted it was a turning point in political discourse, and a ratings goldmine. No apology was released. Instead, a short message aired at the beginning of the next episode. "The View remains committed to tough, fair conversations. We thank our audience for engaging with us." It landed flat. Behind the scenes, advertisers grew nervous. A healthcare company pulled its sponsorship. A major retailer delayed an ad buy. Executives urged the cast to avoid any mention of Musk or Crockett for the rest of the week. Joy Behar followed the directive. Sunny Hostin didn't. "She snapped," Hostin said quietly on air. "But what led her there? That's the real question." Musk replied hours later with a new tweet. "Blame doesn't fix broken arguments. Truth does." No hashtag. No video. Just the sentence. It went viral anyway. Among journalists, an unexpected consensus emerged. The New York Times published a column titled, "The Exit Heard Round the Internet," which admitted, Musk didn't humiliate Crockett. She simply ran out of tools. Bloomberg ran a different angle. The moment X became the battlefield, not just the bulletin board. Back in Washington, Democratic leaders largely stayed silent. A few progressive caucus members offered support, but it came late and landed quietly. Republican operatives, meanwhile, flooded X with comparisons between Musk's composure and what they called the chaos caucus of the left. Crockett's team debated a full media rebuttal. She declined? At least for now. 3 days after the broadcast, Elon Musk posted a single image, a chessboard mid-game, one queen tipped over. No caption. The post was interpreted, debated, criticized, and ultimately reshared over 10 million times. The meaning wasn't subtle. Neither was the reaction. For supporters, it was a symbol of triumph, data over drama, preparation over performance. For critics, it was proof of something darker. Musk wasn't just playing a role in politics anymore. He was playing with it. In Crockett's office, the mood was uneven. Publicly, they pushed forward with legislation focused on housing and labor rights. Privately, aides scrambled to contain the damage. Every effort to redirect the narrative was overshadowed by another meme, another clip, another quote from Musk's now viral monologue. Donors grew cautious. A few fundraising events were quietly postponed. The campaign's communications team considered a rebrand, softer language, fewer national appearances. But it felt reactive. And Crockett, known for her boldness, seemed uncertain for the first time in months. Meanwhile, Musk's influence continued to rise. On Capitol Hill, Republican lawmakers began referencing the View moment in committee rooms. "Don't Crockett this," one staffer joked in a policy meeting. It wasn't kind. But it caught on. A conservative super PAC released an ad within a week, grainy footage of Crockett's exit cut between clips of empty government offices and Musk calmly citing budget figures. The tagline: "We need fewer performers. More builders." No candidate was named. But the point was clear. The View suffered quietly. Despite the ratings spike, internal data showed the audience was now sharply divided, and smaller than the week before. Longtime viewers accused the show of orchestrating a spectacle. One producer resigned, citing editorial discomfort. A guest cancelled last minute, citing an unpredictable environment. Backstage, one host reportedly said, "We handed Musk a podium and let him script the second half of the show." Outside of television, the political echo grew. Pundits asked whether Crockett's collapse marked a turning point, less about one guest, more about a broader failure of progressive messaging against data-heavy arguments. A well-known centrist columnist wrote, "Emotion moves people, but facts root them." Crockett moved. Musk stood. Still, not everyone saw a win. A progressive strategist, interviewed anonymously, warned, "This is a trap. If every debate becomes a numbers game on Musk's platform, we've already lost the terrain. We need to reset, not retreat." But even as backlash simmered, the center of gravity had shifted. Crockett's storm out was no longer the story. It was the symbol. And the question wasn't what happened. It was, what now? 2 weeks passed. Long enough for news cycles to refresh, for newer controversies to trend. But the clip hadn't faded. It still reappeared daily, on podcasts, in reaction videos, on late-night talk shows. Crockett's departure had become shorthand. For some, it meant principled exit. For most, it meant political collapse. In Washington, her presence grew quieter. She declined cable interviews. Skipped a weekend panel. Behind closed doors, advisors debated whether she should take a sabbatical, but the suggestion only deepened the silence around her. On the Hill, colleagues were polite, but distant. Musk, meanwhile, expanded his foothold. He posted less, but every word hit harder. One tweet simply read, "Let data speak louder than outrage." It was reshared by 2 cabinet secretaries. X's monthly active users surged by nearly 22% in the aftermath. Musk held a live stream with a bipartisan panel on government innovation, drawing more live viewers than CNN's primetime block. No one from Congress interrupted him. No one shouted. The tone had changed. In a closed-door meeting at a major political consulting firm, a strategist flipped through slides. "What we're seeing post-Crockett is a recalibration," he said. "Emotion-first messaging isn't just vulnerable, it's obsolete. People want receipts." The term, Crockett moment, entered campaign briefings, not as slander, but as a case study. One document read, "Avoid unsourced attacks. Never underestimate digital response time. Don't show outrage if you can't win the poll." The View, once a default stop for candidates, saw cancellations. A former press secretary put it bluntly, "Why walk into the same ring where Musk won without moving? Internally, the show shifted formats: less confrontation, more discussion. Ratings dropped. One executive said they were in repair mode. Crockett returned to the House floor after 15 days. She delivered a short speech on food insecurity, but the chamber was half empty. The only quote picked up by media was unrelated to the bill. Sometimes, standing up means stepping away. The clip was posted to X. It received under 4,000 likes. Meanwhile, Musk's most recent tweet read, "We're just getting started." It wasn't a threat. It wasn't even new. But it felt true. Not because of the words, but because no one doubted them anymore.